It has been announced today that Dillian Whyte will take on Mariusz Wach on June 3rd at the O2 Arena in London. A lot of people had assumed or hoped or thought that it was going to be Bryant Jennings facing Dillian Whyte. Some people, after this individual called Dillian Whyte out, were hoping it might be Gerald Washington, but it's turned out to be Mariusz Wach. Now, I've seen some response online from boxing fans, and it's generally kind of a mixed response. Some people are really disappointed that it wasn't Jennings or Washington. Other people are saying, you know what, it's still a good fight. Here's my take on it. Mariusz Wach is actually a lot more proven than Gerald Washington. Mariusz Wach went 12 rounds with Vladimir Klitschko, and Klitschko hit Wach with everything but the kitchen sink and never came close to stopping him or dropping him. He then, later on in his career, nearly went the distance with Alexander Povetkin. He was stopped in the 12th round due to facial damage. Again, he was never dropped by Povetkin, never came close to going down in that fight. Whereas you look at Gerald Washington, in the one fight that he's lost, he went 5 rounds with Deontay Wilder in his last fight. The first time he took a serious Wilder right hand, he capitulated. So is it better to get knocked out in 5 rounds after taking one clean shot from Deontay Wilder? Or is it better to go the distance with Vladimir Klitschko when you've taken all his best shots all night? And the same with Alexander Povetkin going 11.5 rounds. Which is better? Which shows more proven punch resistance, for example, and an ability over 12 rounds? I would say Mariusz Wach is more proven than Gerald Washington. Now, Gerald Washington does have some wins. He's got a win over Eddie Chambers. He's got a win over Amir Mansour, although the Mansour fight, some people felt could have gone either way. Some people even believe was controversial. Mariusz Wach, on the other hand, has got wins over Christian Hammer. That's the guy that just knocked out David Price, and he knocked Christian Hammer out when Hammer was actually in shape. Not the fat Hammer that fought David Price, but the in-shape guy much earlier on in his career. He's also coming off a win over Erkan Tepe. And he has several other wins on his resume as well. So I would personally say that Mariusz Wach is more proven than Gerald Washington. I think, superficially just looking at it, I believe Washington is a better boxer than Mariusz Wach. But he's not as tough, and as I say, he's not as proven. Bryant Jennings, on the other hand, you could probably make more of an argument that Wach is maybe not quite as good as Jennings, but Jennings has been out for a long time. He got knocked out badly in his last fight by Luis Ortiz. I believe that was in 5 or 6 rounds. Whereas Mariusz Wach has been active. Jennings does have some good wins on his, on his resume. He beat Artur Spilka, who I think is a fairly decent contender / fringe contender. And, he's beaten a few other guys out there. Who's that Samoan guy that he fought? Is he called Tui Tupu? And a few other guys. So he's fought some decent fringe contenders, Bryant Jennings, or he had some wins over some decent fringe contenders, similar to Mariusz Wach. And also, he fought Vladimir Klitschko. He went the distance, but Klitschko never came close to getting stopped. He actually did a bit better against Klitschko than Mariusz Wach did. Although Wach fought a younger, fresher version of Klitschko. So you can deliberate who's better between Wach and Bryant Jennings if you wish. But to me, this is a perfectly decent and good opponent for Dillian Whyte at the O2 Arena on June 3rd. I think that it's a tough fight for him. He's going to have to work very hard. I'm going to be interested to see what his approach is, because Mariusz Wach is a lot taller than him. Mariusz Wach is a guy who can punch. Not the greatest boxer in the world, but Dillian Whyte has his own limitations. I would say Dillian Whyte has got better boxing skills than Mariusz Wach, but not much better. Mariusz Wach, because of his height and reach, he can box a little bit too, or at least against Dillian Whyte, I think he'll be able to box a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. Anyway, let me quote Dillian Whyte here, because he's got a few things to say about this. He says, "I'm super excited to be headlining at the O2. I've been working hard to be a standalone headline fighter, and to headline against someone of the stature of Mariusz Wach is great. He's a good fighter, tall and rangy, and he throws a lot of body punches and uppercuts. He's Polish, so of course he's going to be tough and bring that warrior spirit. He's a tough guy, so I'll have to work hard. I believe I have what it takes, the resilience, tenacity, skills, and heart to beat him. Possibly a stoppage if I apply the right game plan. He'll come to fight, use his range. It is heavyweight boxing. You can't guess what these fighters are thinking. You have to prepare for all outcomes. He's challenged for a world title, and he's the man who gave Klitschko problems and put up a good fight against Alexander Povetkin too. Two of the best fighters we've had in the past 10 years. It shows how tough he is. He just beat Erkan as well, so it's a very tough test. After my last fight, I could have fought Chisora again, but I want to move onwards and upwards, and I believe this is a couple levels above Chisora. I want to fight for a world title in the next year. I'm in a good position to be in with my rankings, but I know that Wach is a dangerous customer and can ruin my dreams. So I have to be at my very best and take him out in style to prove I mean business at the top level. So those are the words of the body snatcher Dillian Whyte talking about this upcoming fight against Mariusz Wach. He mentioned a couple of things there which I want to touch on. He said that he's had to work hard to become a standalone headline fighter. And he has. He's been putting a lot of pressure on his promoter, Eddie Hearn. Hearn really wanted the Chisora rematch. Whyte wanted to, as he says, move onwards and upwards. Mariusz Wach is a guy who is coming off wins, not losses. Chisora's coming off a loss. Well, I mean, did he fight after Pulev? I think he might have fought after Pulev, but he's had two recent losses at least. Dillian Whyte wanted to move onwards and upwards. And also Dillian Whyte mentioned in an interview before the Chisora fight, I think several fights before the Chisora fight, that he wanted Eddie Hearn to match him against tall opponents. Because the heavyweight champions currently are all tall guys. So he's tired of fighting all these short guys. He wants to fight guys who are tall. He hasn't fought a tall guy since Joshua, I believe. So he was, kind of annoyed that Eddie Hearn wasn't putting him in there with tall fighters. Well, now he's got a tall fighter. Now he's got a guy who's got a great chin. And Dillian Whyte has been in with several fighters now back-to-back who have got great chins. Well, he's going to fight another one now in Mariusz Wach, who might actually have the best chin in the entire division. So very unlikely that Dillian Whyte stops this guy. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think Dillian Whyte is going to be pushed very, very hard in this fight, and it's going to be very difficult for him. I do not see, if Dillian Whyte wins this fight, and that is by no means a guarantee in my view, if Dillian Whyte wins this fight, it will not be easy. Do not expect him to pass this test in any type of easy fashion, because I can't see that happening. Anything can happen in boxing, I guess. You can never say never, but I'll be very surprised if Dillian Whyte beats Mariusz Wach easily. So let me know what you think about this news in the comment section below. How do you see this fight going? Who do you think wins? How do you see the fight playing out? How will it unfold? Will it be a knockout? Will I'm talking about Erkan here. Will Mariusz Wach manage to actually beat Dillian Whyte? I'll be very interested to see the odds for this fight. The odds should be fairly close. Maybe some of you guys would actually make Mariusz Wach the favorite. Interestingly enough, Mariusz Wach has actually been sparring with Anthony Joshua. And if you see pictures of Joshua next to Mariusz Wach, you realize how big Mariusz Wach is. I mean, Joshua looked big next to Dillian Whyte. Have a look at Mariusz Wach next to Joshua. Wach looks huge next to Joshua. So yeah, Wach has been sparring Joshua currently. And obviously, Dillian Whyte has been in there with Klitschko. Dillian Whyte's been in there with Joshua. Wach has been in there with Klitschko, and Klitschko and Joshua are about to fight. So there's a little insight there into the back and forth behind the scenes, also in terms of sparring each other as well as fighting. So anyway, let me stop waffling here, people. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel. It's happening. I'm out.